Hello everyone and welcome to Shadows Chronicles, and if you are new here, this is me. I go by Shiju. Some people call me Esther, and you're welcome and thank you for clicking to watch this video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I really appreciate you. So today you can see another face on the screen. You can see that it's not just me, talking today. I have somebody special in the house. Okay, she's going to introduce herself shortly, and she's going to tell us about how she navigated our admission journey and moving to the US with a dependent, because I know some of you have questions about that, right? That's why I brought that in, that I can't tell you all this by myself, but she has the experience and she's going to be sharing with us today. So I'm not going to do much talking. I'm going to hand it over to her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself. So over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, hello viewers and everybody who follows Shiju on our social media platform. I'm glad she has me here. Just let me, before I introduce myself, she was my very first contact into Kent State, my very first contact. So, but we'll get there. My name is Adepeju Prince. So I'm a doctoral student in my second year at Kent State University, and I'm a science education specialist. My first degree and my master's were in Nigeria at the Yemi College of Education for my master's, at University of Ibadan for my degree, at University of Ibadan for my master's. I used to be a teacher in Nigeria. I taught for 10 years, physics, mathematics, early years to high school. So I'm a mom. Yeah, I have a son. He's 8.
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah, okay. Right now, I'm a G and a researcher,
Okay.
and in the United States. I think that's all for now.
Okay, thank you for introducing yourself. Okay, wow, like 10 years. I thought for like what, 2 years. Let me tell you, I was like, I'm going to take a break. It is a
Tell me
lot of
about it.
work,
Tell me
yeah.
about it.
It's a lot of work. But how did your study abroad journey start, right? Like, how did it start, and what sparked the interest, and why the US?
Okay, so I will start from what sparked the interest. I'm from a state in Nigeria called Ekiti, and my father is a professor, my mom is a nurse. So there's no way you are leaving them officially without having a PhD. So after my master's, the negotiation before I ended up being a mom was that along the line you do your PhD, right? And I said yes. But then after my master's, I started working and making money, and PhD began to have like a backseat. Then one time I got a memo from University of Ibadan that if you don't do your PhD 5 years after you get your master's, you have to do an MPhil. So I rushed back to UI the 5th year after I had my master's to get the PhD done. But of course, Nigeria will always be Nigeria, and there were so many shenanigans. I can't compromise some things because I need a PhD, so I just abandoned it. But I'm a very passionate educator, so I was just building my profile. I had mentors, and I liked the way they relate online, and they were like, "You are walking knowledge, share your interest." And so it was easy for me to talk about education, talk about God or being a mom, and then people would come into my DM with opportunities. It started with Fulbright and Obama scholars. Like, oh, look at this, apply. They need people like you. Look at this, apply. And I'll apply to Fulbright, apply to Obama scholars. But I wasn't interested in leaving Nigeria as it were, because I liked my life there. Until I got to, I scaled up and I began to work in international schools. And I discovered that anybody with a degree outside Nigeria earns more than us. We have talked, we even formed small pressure group to argue with our employers, but they will tell you that's the law. Some were even employed with their embassies, and the embassies will give like a cap to the lowest you can pay them. So regardless of the fact that you know more than them or you are better qualified, they earn more than you. And I began to think, what's with these? We call them abroad degrees. What's with these abroad degrees? And I decided to go to the UK. So from all this teaching, stuff, I met someone who pushed me to apply for UK visa. That, okay, you've not even been to UK before. Go there, see if you can cope, see how things are done. And so miraculously, I got a UK visa. I don't know why I say miraculously was that the agent told me that if I don't have a certain amount in my account, I'm not going to be able to go. My teaching profession is too low. And I met another one that said, come, you earn above 200,000, go and apply. And then they know you're coming back, you have a good job. So I got a 6 months visa, but COVID happened and I couldn't go. The initial plan was just to go and see UK, walk around lecturers, ask for funding. I've heard that if you don't have funding, PhD is going to be difficult for you abroad, or you don't have one steady millions from Nigeria that's coming in. So because I couldn't go, I was just, COVID met us at home and we were there. And after COVID, we had NSAS. And as old as I am, I carried placard to go and protest in Wuse. Took the pictures and put it on Facebook. And a friend of mine, he was running up his PhD in the United States, sent me a message on LinkedIn. Now he sends it every year. 2018 he was saying, 2019 he sent, 2020 he sent again and said, even if you don't like yourself, do you want your son to be carrying placard? Come and do this PhD. It's almost free if you're qualified. I said, United States want everything from you. They want your hand and your leg and your mother's birth certificate. I don't have energy. I want to go to UK. He said, try it. I said, okay, under one condition. If you show me the schools to apply to, and I don't want to do any kind of exam, no GRE, no IELTS, I am not ready for that. And he said, that would be hard. You may not get into the good schools. By good schools, he meant Ivy League. He said, but we can try R1 and R2 schools. And fortunately that year, COVID made a lot of schools waive GRE and IELTS, and that was it. I applied to 4 schools. I got admission into 2. I got funding in both, but the Kent State funding was the easiest for me. It's in my department. I don't have to renew it every year. So that was how I got here.
Awesome. Like, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm like, wow. As you started telling your story, I was like, wow. And of course, I related with the part, no exams, please. Like, I don't like stressing myself. And that was one of the reasons why Kent State, it was Kent State for me when I applied. Yeah. I mean, and then your last set of, responses, like a great segue into like my next questions. Like, okay, so what program or degree did you apply to, and how many schools did you apply to?
Oh, okay. So my program is science education in education department, which is funny because the belief also was that education don't have funding. Even the person that mentored me through the process said I should come in for maybe science because I had a science major in my degree. I said I don't want anything that would not make me available for my child. I know how intense science GA-ship can be. And so he said, well, education can be dicey. Their funding is small. Sometimes it may not be available. We just decided to go for it. Apparently, in the United States, there's no course that can be funded. It's just good to go out.
Yep. Nice. And so I think you mentioned that you applied to 4 schools earlier, and then...
Yes, I applied to 4 schools. So now this is where I would quickly say that when you want to apply to a school, you don't just, everybody's going to Harvard and you move. For example, if I'd applied to science ed in Harvard, I may not enjoy it like the science ed in UGA. So you need to, so based on my program, he said, he did the investigation for me. I didn't know how he did it. I guess he spoke to people, because then it was a doctoral student and they told him that if I intend to come to this part of the United States, that North Carolina is the top. That's University for science education. After that, you have UG, University of Georgia. After that, you have Kent State University. Then you have University of South Florida. That those are the schools that kind of have my program funded with faculty that have grants. Because if your faculty don't have grants, they can't get in students. So yeah. The North Carolina admission did not even go through because then my schools couldn't send the transcript early enough and they couldn't move the deadline for my sake. The UGA was almost smooth sailing, but I had to do 5 interviews to get admitted. And then I didn't get funding from my department. Like they got funding for me in biology department and I have to renew that. It's a lot of work. But Kent State, if Kent State admission came very late, The funding came even later. It came in May, and I'd given up. And the funding was such that the person I've been working with, our research ideas aligned perfectly. Yeah, and then it's inside the same unit. I don't have to go out for the GA ship, so it was just a no-brainer. And of course, maybe we'll get there soon. Because I was coming with the dependents, the school district was a big deal to me. We will get there. So yeah, so K State holistically wasn't.
I mean, it's a perfect segue. You can even keep talking because I think you're already talking about some factors that you considered when selecting and shortlisting schools to apply to. So I feel like you can cover it as well.
So like we usually joke, those of us who are moms here, if our child is trying to misbehave, we say it's because of you that we invested in this trip, you know. So in the United States, for example, every state operates like a country, and inside each state, every county operates like a different state. They kind of have different laws, which applies to the school district. So coming from, of course, I said I work in international school, so I have a vast idea of how the typical American mentality would be. Hollywood didn't help matters. I had a, watch idea too from Hollywood. So I was concerned about the kind of school district whose values are closer to mine. And that is why I didn't want to go to Florida. You understand by now. I did I said, no. If I get admission at USF, I'm not going. So Ohio as a state is a little bit conservative, which I like. And then Kent district. So, oh my God. So school district is a function of the tax those in that neighborhood pay. So if that neighborhood doesn't have a lot of tax paying people, the school district will be broke. And if they are broke, you have lesser quality of education. So the Kent State district is rich. So and Kent State is sitting nicely inside. So it was also a factor. So I had my eyes on UGA or Kent for the school district. But that's for wealth. Now for ideologies, I prefer Kent to Athens. Athens is where the school would be if I'd gone to UGA. It's one of the districts, counties in Georgia. So I preferred Kent to Athens. So, but at the end of the day, it paid off. So now that my dependent own is settled, mine was also the advisor. It's also why eventually, thank God, I didn't go to Harvard. Even though I would have had to do GRE and all that, but I also sent the cold email to the professor in charge of science ed, and the response was so cold. I was like, I'm just making inquiries. But when I applied to Kent State, the way they would keep sending you emails and say they're begging you to come, and then the advisor I work with right now, her ideas are just there. She's fast, she's quick, she's smart, she's accommodating. She works my personality, not just my life, into her schedule. She knows my strength, and I could sense that from just the only interview we did together. So when schooling abroad is a huge transition, especially mental transition. You can imagine having a professor or an advisor whose vision doesn't align with yours. You are going to struggle a lot. So at this point, I think I can say why you are trying to apply to a range of schools. As are doing the interviews, be feeling their vibe or the energy they give off is so important, because you are not just a minority, you are an immigrant. You would need all the emotional support you can get. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. I'm really enjoying our conversation. Let's tell you're really enjoying it. So while applying, I know you mentioned somebody also kind of mentored you through the process, but what steps did you take when applying?
Okay, so the first thing we did was narrow down schools that are waiving GRE and IELTS. After we narrowed that down to I think that was about 10. Then it wasn't spelled out on their website that they would waive GRE. But he noticed that there are some programs that he said they would waive GRE. So he said, okay, you would send an email to the grad coordinators of each of the program I'm trying to remember the name of the other, is it 3 or 4 schools now? Just that first stop, because those are the ones that responded quickly. So we looked for their grad he taught me how to look for their grad coordinators on the website. And then we sent them cold emails. All I just did was I introduced myself in full terms. I told them what I've been doing, because he said for them to waive GRE for you, you have to prove that what you studied and what you're doing over the years is in line. It's not like maybe you read geology and now you're teaching English. You have to do GRE to prove that you still remember geology, something like that. So I was able to prove that I graduated this year. I've been teaching science at high school, middle school level, and my degree was offered in English. And I've checked their website. I like their program. I'm qualified. Can they waive GRE for me and IELTS? So the 4 schools that responded was the ones I applied to, which is also good, because if for a place like UGA, that was what saved me initially. The email I sent to the grad coordinator was, so their own admissions committee, they actually sit and ask themselves when they are done, do you know this person? So he was the only one that said, she sent me an email, and I think I know her. I've gone through her CV. So, but they needed 5 people to vote for you. So he sent me an email that please send the same email to 5 other professors that you like, so they can vote for you in the next one. So you see why a cold email sometimes, and I would always prefer the grad coordinators. It's their job to read your emails. Some professors may not open your mail, right? So that's one of the steps. So after that, we started applying. I missed all the free application windows. And I don't know how, but the 4 schools, I missed it. So I paid the application fee, $70, $30, $100, $105. Then after paying, I chased all my transcripts. Thankfully that year, they accepted student copies, all the 4 schools. So, but they gave me with instructions, you get to in 1 month or in 2 months. So I was chasing the transcripts from my 2 schools together. And as that was happening, I had to start revamping my social media small. Any video that involved too much dancing, too much flashy dressing, too much boobs, I took them down, because it may not really matter, but some of this admission committee can be petty. So who are we bringing into our department? How versatile is she, so they can check you codedly? So I did that also. And then when I started getting, the first rejection letter was from Obama Scholars Foundation, then from North Carolina. And then I thought that's the end. Then USF didn't, they sent a conditional, was it admission, that they changed their mind on the GRE. So I should sign that if I get in after first semester, I will do GRE. I said, okay, hands on that. Then UJ send theirs, then KSU send theirs. So that was it. Yeah. Okay, so I think I've answered the next question. What materials did I submit? Personal statement is a big deal. And my saving grace was I knew how to write before. My mentor didn't even tell me that, just said, write whatever you like, because you cannot plagiarize your SOP. It has to be your original thought. Write what you like. And then when I wrote it and sent it to him, he said, are you sure you wrote this? I said, you told me to write what I like, to write about me, my past research and my future research. He said it's perfect, just to rearrange the paragraphs and let the story parts be the first. So that was awesome. I did not do GREs. And up till now, there are many schools that are waiving GREs, but you need to prove that you are capable for research. So that's it for now. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you submit like letters of recommendations?
Oh, yes. I had, so they didn't even really specify the kind of person, but my mentor was already a doctoral student, said, ensure that there are at least 2 PhD holders in that recommendation. One, because it's an academic community for the sake of trust. 2, because you are coming in for research. Somebody has to prove that you've done research before. And the 3rd reason was that they are most likely would have an official email that's verifiable. So the schools are big on official emails. So I reached out to my advisor during my master's degree. And then one of my mentors in like the business world is a consultant, is also a PhD holder. Then another person that's a regular person, but also did it for me, but he has a good standing in the society. So I had 3. And it wasn't easy. because I first sent an introductory email that for the next 3 months, I'll be applying to 4 schools. Please, please help me be filling this recommendations, because these are busy people. Of course, you have to get busy people. And I'm really grateful they put their absolute best into it. Yes. Absolutely. They put their absolute best into it.
I really like that you sent that introduction, like, letting them know beforehand that, okay, this is happening.
Exactly.
That's really great. Exactly. So my next question, like, how did you secure funding?
So apparently among the 4 schools, it's only University of North Carolina that had automatic funding. They don't have funding for uni admission for you, because theirs is not just that you're good enough, they also have to have money for you. But in Kent State, UGA, they can admit you and not give you funding. So UGA gave me the admission, and then I did not get funding initially. But what they do is they assign a foster advisor to you automatically. So the woman was just saying, you're going to come in with a son, you're not going to find it easy without a job. You know, find it easy. She's a Black American. So she went out of her way to get funding for me in the biology department. So I didn't go eventually. But the other one, Kent State, was even easier. So apparently, after their meeting, the grant I'm on right now decided that I will be the one that will be funded. But along the line, something happened. I just didn't get a funding email. So when they sent the admission, by that time I was tired. So I just said, okay, I'm very grateful for this admission. Can I defer to spring? Hoping that would give me enough time to use my faith to bring out the school fees. And, I was just trying my best here and there. Some people were saying, oh, come, there will be work for you in the US. But those who are in the US are telling me, don't do it. You can't work on an F1 visa. And even if you can be the child, and you may not get the visa if the visa issuing officers can verify your funding properly. So I said, okay. So I sent the email that, okay, I want to defer my admission to spring. And then they replied and said, we have funding for you, but you still need to apply for it just to make it official. So they sent me this papers, like a template, the way they want to see the CV. I sent my CV initially. They liked it and sent me another template to just fill it in. And then when I was done, I think after a week, they sent me the acceptance letter, and then they started, it was a long process, probably to, give you SSN, to make Ohio aware that you're coming to work with them. It was just a lot. But yes, it worked. So that was how I got funding.
Wow, that was a hectic process. But also, I think the program that you mentioned about, like, you must be admitted with funding, that was how my program was too. Like, if you get admission and you don't have funding, you would not be able to enroll. Basically, yeah. So that was how my master's program too was. You had to have funding to even, like, enroll in the program. They give you conditional admission first, but if you don't have funding, that's it. You can't come. You can't enroll. So that was how it was. Yeah. But now moving on, you talked about your admission process up to the moment that you got funding. So now let's talk about after the whole acceptance process, right? So after accepting the offer, right, like, what next? What was the process like for you? Like, what steps did you take and all that? Because we're moving to the visa section now. So, like, what was that whole process like for you?
So after I accepted and I had funding, I first went to swim. I can't forget that day. It was May 27, 2020. Wow. I can't forget. After swimming, so I called my mentor. I'm like, okay, now I have funding and admission. He said, start packing your bags. And I'm like, just like that. He said, he's just joking. That. Does my son have a passport? I said, yes. He said, did I put his name in the application process? So there are 2 ways to doing it. You can either wait till you get admission, or if you're coming with a dependent. I said, no, his name has been there all along. So he said, okay, you guys need to apply for visa. So, and that is where the actual drama started. I did not know that visa was I thought I was just working to the embassy and get it out. So I called the same agent that travel agent I used for UK visa. And she said, the way she took a deep breath, the US, okay. do you have admission? Yes. Do you have funding? When I said I have funding, she said, hey, that's better. It's easier. So she just told me what to do. I went to the bank, paid for visa fees. It's still $162, but I guess the price in the equivalent in Naira now is all over the place.
Yeah.
So I paid you have to pay separately, and then we started applying. So at that point, she needed to be sure that everything I was saying was correct, because I was working 3 jobs at the time, so there was no time to sit at the DS 160.
Yeah.
So she would just like this. She would be on video call and be asking me questions, and then she would tell me, whatever you don't have proof for, don't put it in. Like my divorce, I had to put pressure on the lawyer to get my documents to really say I'm divorced, things like that. My son, she said, they will keep asking all manner of questions. Your mother's maiden name, your father's this, your that. So we go through that part, and then she just sent me an email on another day that there's no date. I said, explain there's no date. And there's no date for interview. I said, there has to be date. I'm resuming in August. I need to leave earlier because of school.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, there's EAD, we can try that, but she said, but it's being racketeered right now. And so that's the shady part that I don't like. I said, okay, whatever you have to do, I need a visa date, latest by June ending, so that I know what I'm doing with myself. And then she said, okay. So she came back with all sorts of ridiculous prices. My God. Wow. They were more expensive than the visa itself, and even though I'm super quiet about this, but it saddened me, and then I said, look, I don't know how I'm going to pay for a date. There's a reason you're my agent. Like, you did the UK visa and I didn't pay for a date. She said, because UK is easy. You just go to a place and you do your data capturing. Here you have to meet an actual interviewer. I said, okay. So she said I should give her time. And then she came back and said, fine, would the June 29th be too far? I said, June 29th is perfect. And she said, she should start praying and they should not shift the date. And I thought she was joking. On the night before my interview, I got an email that the date has been cancelled. I started shouting. I called her, I was crying. I said, hey, she said, don't worry, it's not village people. Read that email again. So the email was addressed to everyone with a B1 or B2 visa who is coming for a B1 or B2 interview. I said, thank God. She said, just keep praying. Yeah. Keep praying. You don't want to pay, keep praying. We got there, thank God our names were on the paper, and then, we moved in. Yeah. And, that was how we got into the visa place. And the interview was, so I think if you have funding, as at then, because I heard some people with funding were rejected, the visa interview officers check for other things that you could be lying about. And they are super trained. They check your eye movements, they check your responses. So like when I got there, she asked me, so what am I going to the United States to do? I said, I'm going there for my PhD. He said, why don't you do it in Nigeria? I said, look at Nigeria the way it is. The curriculum is not going to work for me. I want to be a global citizen. And how do I influence Nigeria if I'm trained with the same curriculum? She said, oh, that's a good argument. So your son is 7? I said, yes. And they said, okay, you're sure? I said, yes, it's 7. Look at him. And okay, are you going to be the primary caregiver? I said, of course. So how will he see his father? I said, maybe during summer, if he gets a visa. If he doesn't, we'll probably have to, travel back to visit. She said, okay. So why Kent State? I said, because they gave me the best offer of all the schools I applied to. She said, that's good. Okay. I'll go to the United States. Please don't pass through the UK. Don't pass through Europe. I just sat down. So that was the visa process, which I thought was simple, right? Mm-hmm. And we got out with a white paper. So when I had the visa now, I had no idea. I didn't know anyone in Ohio. My close family live in Boston. So I called them and they were like, they don't know anyone in Ohio. And even if I thought it was just like Nigerian state, because I've never been to the United States before, that maybe you can easily enter one bus from More to Ondo and maybe he said, no. If you're inside Ohio, you can fly. I said, okay. So I went on LinkedIn. I just wanted to know how housing would be, because my mentor told me that you can't get your child into school without a house. And for someone like you, you can't like be a leech on somebody. You just came 2 months, you've not gotten a house. It still will work. So that was when I just went to LinkedIn. I said, okay, the serious people will be on LinkedIn. Put Kent State University, I put Nigeria in brackets, and then a lot of you showed up. I look for the one with the friendliest face. And then a DM that, okay, this is it, thank you. So you linked me up with Dayo, with people who helped me with the accommodation. So, but then there was no one that was really willing to like accept someone with a child, because that's 2 people. And then one of the Nigerians linked me to another person who is a mom, though she had a baby while she was here. So she agreed to accommodate me, and then she started looking for schools, house. We got a place. Paying was a headache, because by that time, Nigeria capped monthly dollar bill to 100. I couldn't pay admission fees. I couldn't pay application for the accommodation and all that. But she just said, okay, since I have the visa, I should try to come in as early as possible. The school will resume August 17th. The earliest I can come is July 17th. You cannot come earlier than a month to your resumption. So I tried to get him by 19. So the moment I stepped into the United States, I used someone's Zelle to pay for the accommodation. Thank God there was even no way to change Naira. It was so funny. But I had friends who trusted me enough with their dollars. So we used their Zelle to pay for the accommodation. We paid for application fees. So when we got a house address, then I used that to start applying for school. Wow. Though I'd contacted the district before leaving Nigeria. So they told me to apply like the main forms, then leave the school placements till I get a place. So that's what I did, which I would advise anybody to do. Although your child can come in and resume at any time, but it's always better for them to join at the beginning of the session, so they can build them into the curriculum, which is a different game entirely.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, that must have been like a really hectic process, like navigating all that journey. Like I didn't know that you had to have like, I guess, a house in order to enroll your child in a school district.
Kids go to school by zip code here. I mean, the law kind of sort of says you shouldn't go to school at a distance from your house, unless it's a special school, or your parents will sign that they would handle transportation, and that whatever happens is on them, things like that. So it's by zip code. Plus, because districts have different things, like the immunization we had to transfer his records from Nigeria to the US, which was I had to sit down with the nurse at some point. And then, all those things to just tell us for fun in Nigeria. If it's Yoruba, as if only penta 9, otibati measles, I had to sit down with this paper one by one and used Google to, place the immunization side by side to see the ones it's taking and the ones it's not taking, because they won't even be allowed into school if his immunizations are not complete. And then it was a whole drama too with health insurance. Oh my God.
Yeah, health insurance. Okay, so yeah. I have a question, because I might really backtrack to like that I-20 period. So your I-20, you had to indicate your dependent on that, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
Did they had like funds or something? Like, I guess you have to show more money.
Yes, you have to show more money. Oh, how did I even skip that? So now, like I said, the funding is by department and by school. For Kent State, the sciences are like cool, right? But the education, the funding is super small. So the funding would cover my tuition and spending, they call it living expenses. But I had to show funding for my books and for my dependent. So if you're coming with one dependent, that's $4,500 that you have to show for that dependent apart from you. If you're coming with 2, you show $4,500 for the first one, and then $2,500 for every other dependent afterwards. So those who are coming with maybe a wife and a child, you show 4525. A wife and two children, a husband and two children, 452525. And if you don't show that, they're not going to allow you. And I see why. Because the moment you touch the state, you start spending money. The moment you enter the United States.
Yeah.
So there's no, I want to, with a child, there's no, I want to hustle. You have to be ready. And then when you pay your $350 for your service fee to get a number for your I-20, they automatically generate one for your dependents. They don't pay extra. But your dependent also needs that I-20. It's super important. It's tied to yours, but they have their own separate own, because you see, sometimes dependents change status. They may get married, they may get a green card, they may move to H-1B, they may even move to F-1. So they need to trace that. Their own service number is what they use to trace them, but it's tied to the major applicant, primary applicants. That's the F1. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'm really learning a lot. Let me tell you, like a lot of things that I did not know at all with this conversation that we're having. I really like it. I'm liking it. So I feel like you've kind of touched a bit on the process of settling in, of navigating accommodation, finding a school and childcare. But I know you say you kind of already contacted the school district before coming here. Did you search them up online? How would you advise somebody who is trying to okay, how will I find a school for my child? What do I need to do? How would you advise the person? Is it just go online and search, or?
Yeah, well, go online and search would have been okay, but it's not even a third option for me. The first one would be look for anybody that's attending. If you're good on an F1 visa, for example, look for people that's already attending that school, or you reach out to your OGE, that's the Office of Graduate Education. It could be any name in your school, or your advisor, and just craft the email very nicely. So I will be coming with maybe two children. One is 5 years old who has gone to school for 2 years in Nigeria. One is 3 years old. I know what I'm saying, who has gone to school for a year. I would like to know the districts to apply to or something. So they will give you a range of where you can get a house. That's where they started from with me. So my zip code, they said, okay, you should get a house in this zip code. So that zip code will tell you the school district. Is almost automatic. If you just get a random link, and there's a reason I'm saying that, you could end up getting a house in a good district, but you're going to register in a district that won't align with what you want for your child, or won't align with the kind of taxes you're paying. For me, like I said, I had that lady that already had a child, so she was the one that approached the school district on my behalf, and they sent me a link. Otherwise, they are always online, but you need to be sure of the zip code you're getting a house. So that's the first step. The moment you get admission, no matter what you do, just get money for your first 2 rents. Super important. So whoever is helping you could quickly get a house, or let me say an area where they are looking for. You use that to start registration in the school. It's also a long process. Then when you get the house, eventually, they use the house address to place your child in a school. That's for those who have kids that are 5-year-old and older. Now, if your child is lesser than that in age, you need more money.
Oh gosh.
You can't skip health insurance, which pays for all the immunizations. You can't. I don't know how easy I can explain it. Or okay, so let me just start from there. You need to be, your child needs to be immunized, and they don't joke with it. If you are paying from pocket, immunizations as costly as $300 per shot. So you need insurance, and insurance is not cheap. In a place like K State, it's $2,000 per semester for a dependent. Or you just close your eyes and start praying, this child will not fall sick in Jesus' name. Either one. Now, the second one is that when that's just their health. Childcare is not cheap. There's no free daycare in the United States. The average amount is $200 in a week for daycare. And your child will attend from 6 months to 5 years. So I don't know how much they'll be paying you that stipend, and you're shelling out $800, $1,000 a month just for childcare. And that is cheap. If you want to do nanny, like the one we have in Nigeria, house help, it's $20 per hour, where it is cheap. So if a nanny stays in your house for 8 hours in a day, that's $160 to start with in one day. So you see the daycare is still cheaper. But if you know you have a child that's less than 5 years old, there's something they call Head Start in the US. Is the free daycare. Very wonderful, also of good quality. But the issue is that because it's free, the waiting list is so long.
Wow.
It is so long. So the moment you have your visa, that's it. If you have a child that's less than 5, find a way to look for Head Start. And it's not by zip code because they are not everywhere. Like if it's in Kent State, the closest one to me is about 20 minutes drive from here. So yes, you can just reach out to them and let your child be on the waiting list at least, so that by the time you come, hopefully the thing will shift and get to you. Yeah, but coming with a dependent that is less than 5 years old is a lot of work. Just come with your spouse.
Yeah, so that they can assist you.
They can assist you, yeah.
Yeah, well done. Thanks for sharing. So I'm just going to ask, I do have another question before this other question. I don't know why. After you said talking, a lot of questions just started popping up. But yeah, so like, I guess with you registering your child in the school district, like the school bus comes, like pick your child
free.
up and
That's the sweet part. Once the child is 5 upwards, school is free, bus is free. Even dental care in some schools, like my district, we do one free dental care for him per year.
Nice.
Immunization flu shot is free. If you earn below a certain amount, food is also free in school. And it's twice, breakfast and lunch. So
that's really good.
That's the easy part of having a child in the US. Once they are 5, the government takes over. If you want them to take over.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's really good. So now moving over to the educational experience. Yeah. How has it been like for you? Like, what has the educational experience been like for you?
It's a transition. Nothing prepares you for the quality of education you get in the US. And I use the word quality carefully because the 3 credits you have here is actually 3 credits. To pass, you spend at least 3 hours every day on that course. And it's there's no negotiation for failure. You have to pass. If you don't pass, they send the thing back to you to keep doing it, and they give you a number of times to pass it. It's different. The good thing is that to a large extent, my own university has a policy that has diversity and inclusion in it. So being Black and being immigrant is not a huge factor. That plays out in how my professors relate with me. So I have access to resources, I have access to them. When I don't understand, I've learned how to talk. I keep pressuring them, I keep asking till I get to a convenient place. The grades have been good, but the work that goes into the grades, I have never seen. I mean, at some point I started questioning myself, did I take the right decision? But it gets easier. Not like easier that you won't work, but your mind grows into it. You get used to it. It's not fun. I mean, use of technology is a huge deal. I was used to it, but not at this level. I had to upgrade my computer. I had to do a lot of things. Some apps not even work on some Nigerian, laptops. So, but on the good side, I love the access I have to my professors. I love the access to resources. I love the access to some free software. And I love the fact that my work shows. If I fail, I know that it's because I did not study. Like, it is obvious. You just know that this one is your fault. And thankfully, I've not failed. And if anybody harasses you, enough resources to get respite. Enough. You can never get enough of it. So it's a safe environment to learn. But at the same time, you will put in the work. Yeah. You won't get 1 check mark. You're going.
Yeah, I like that statement that you're going to put in the work. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciated, right? Like, I knew that if I get one, I mean, I graduated with a 4.0, so that's really nice. But like, if you get lesser grades, that yes, this is on you, right? Like, you can't blame anybody for that. That's it. But yeah, it is a lot of work. I agree with that. So now, what about culture shock? Like, have you experienced any sort of culture shock since you've been here?
all the time. The first one was my accent. I thought I had good English right there. And people would look at me like, "You're from Africa." I'm like, "How did you know?" I thought I was doing it really good enough for you to hear, And then the fact that there could be subtle racism, especially outside the campus. You get to experience it, but it's just very subtle. But you would know this person is judging you with their skin color, is judging your emotions, is judging your actions. And then the food, I'm still not used to the food. I've spent over a year here. I don't know when I will get used to the food. The dressing, when I first came, I would look, my eyes would pop. I mean, I lived in Abuja, so good dressing is not my problem, but dude, hi, cheese. And the liberalism too was a huge deal for me. It was huge. I naturally assumed people were he or she, and people will blame me of trying to misgendering. I'm like, sorry, I thought because you look like this gender. They said no, next time ask. Some, it is there. So, and the fact that people call their professors by name, I can't. I told my professor I can't. I'll call you Professor that or Dr. That. I can't call you by your first name. And then the fact that nobody really cares about what you do. You're more or less so you can be in the crowd, but you can be so alone if care is not taken. So those are the kind of, and the greeting, it kind of helps someone like me. I don't like to kneel down and greet people a lot, But to a large extent, it was shock for some people. And at the same time, I also noticed that you have to be super careful, especially as a TA. Normal smile that I will smile at you. There's a way I will smile and somebody will say I'm hitting on her, or I'm hitting on him, and to be a big deal. The way that we will just greet and slap, "Oh, how are you?" You can't even do that. You have to always keep your hands to yourself. Consent and everything is a huge deal, even for them to attend your own class. They have to have consent. So there are a few things I'm still trying to, get over. And the way they are helping me to train the child, it's a lot of, I'm used to the African mom. I'm generally the same way in my house. Now I'm not. I have to ensure that he's in a good headspace so that when social services see him in school, they wouldn't say I'm threatening him or, abusing him. What the typical African mom will do in Nigeria is abuse her in the US. Oh, a huge one. And you can even go to jail for it, or they can get a child away from you for 1 or 2 days just to teach you a lesson, So had a few things I'm still trying to get over. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I can relate with some of the things that you mentioned, and hopefully one of these days I can do a video on some other things like that, because I feel like
you need to just prepare people's minds.
So now, as we kind of try to wrap up this video, right? What advice do you have for those starting out the process, currently applying, or even prepping for a visa interview? What advice do you have for viewers, those watching, basically?
Okay, so the first advice would be that you need to be sure you're ready to do this. Anything that drives you up to the point of getting a visa is simple compared to what you are going to see when you get here. So you need to know why. You need to be sure. Number 2 is, if you are coming from Nigeria and your surname, your daddy's surname or your own is not in the first 10 rich people, ensure you get funding. If you don't have funding, keep trying. There are over 500 schools in the United States. Over 300 of those are R1 and R2. Keep trying, because you have no idea the level of stress to cut off your life by just being funded. Don't let anybody deceive you. Student loans will set you back by several years. There is no job until they reverse that policy. Whatever, if you try to work on an F1 visa legally, you will just be under unnecessary pressure. So that's the second one. And then the third one is, if you're coming with a dependent, be realistic about your expectations. And if you're coming, 1 or 2 dependents is enough. If you're coming with 4, 5, 6, that's even if you get that visa. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, that's like my last question for you for today. Like, is there anything else you would want people to know? Maybe like your social media handle, if you're comfortable. Do you run a business that wants to share? Like anything else? It could even be an advice or anything you feel like, Esther, you did not ask, so like
That's
anything.
Okay. Okay, so my social media handle is Adepeju Prince across board, or you do the Peju Prince, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And apart from being a researcher, the only business I do, which is not, I don't get money from it, I just help people, is do what Shiju is doing, help you to navigate your process if you are interested. I don't write recipes for people. I don't help you fill your forms. I opened a little WhatsApp group for those who keep sending me DMs that, okay, this is where there's free application this year, this is where schools are waiving GRE, this is our deadlines, these courses are so this is what I just do to help people that's in Nigeria. But here in the United States, apart from being a researcher and an educational consultant, I do volunteering a lot. Anything that involves science students in high school, science teachers. And I still speak. I speak online and I speak in person. So for now, I'm trying not to overfill my plate because of work.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. Like, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Big 1 hour. I hope that's not too long.
That is absolutely fine. I feel like for the quality of information, for the information that was shared today, I feel like it's worth it, and I don't mind uploading the entire hour right there. Like if anybody wants to watch, fine. That is absolutely fine. But thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you. And with that, people, okay, I hope you enjoyed watching and
you're such a good person to talk with, and thanks for linking me with everybody you sent me till that time.
Thank you so much.
We are still good friends and they are still in my life right now.
I'm glad to hear that. I am so glad to hear that. And people, don't forget to subscribe, okay? Like this video, subscribe.
When the link comes out too, I will just share to people, especially here.
Thank you so much.
Also.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye people. Bye viewers.
Bye.